everyone, nice to see you again to talk about Dharma tonight with a very special guest. Tonight we have Laura Plumb, who accepted my invitation. Yes, hey Laura, you just need to ask. Perfect. All right. I don't know, it always takes me a few times to accept until it actually works. Let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi, Laura.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. Thank you so much.
Of
course,
it's nice to be with you. It's good to see you again. Yeah, thank you for doing this. Can you tell me a little bit about what you're up to these days? Why Dharma? Why does that matter to you?
Well, you tricking me. I'm usually the one asking questions. Dharma, because I think this is really what lights me up to bring people back to that path that is unique to them, and that it took me so many years to understand, and now that I realize that it's really just about being fully ourselves and being unapologetic about it, and how when you do that you actually create like a virtuous circle where, you know, because you do feel good about yourself and realize that everything you're feeling like called to, being curious about, enthusiastic about, has something to do with you, and it's worth following because it's going to nourish you, and from that place of feeling nourished and fulfilled, you're going to be able to contribute to the world from such a more powerful way. And so it's really a win-win situation for everybody. And yeah, that's what I'm really excited about now, to help people kind of allow, like, dare to be themselves, really. And Dharma, because I've been on the yogic path for many years now, and that's actually how we met back in 2013 when I attended the Rishikesh International Yoga Festival, and you were one of the guest teachers there, and I got to take a couple of your classes, and I've been following you ever since.
That's
so
already 10 years ago now. Wow.
Yes, I know, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's like, reminds me of that saying that the journey of 1,000 steps begins with the first one. However long it takes, you know, once you get there, you land in the eternal moment. As you're trying to get there, it feels like time and stuckness and delays and but then you arrive and you just feel, you're in an eternal moment. Everything is as it should be. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so for the people who are following us live tonight, or who will be watching the replay, well, I kind of did a little bit of an introduction on what Dharma is, what is my definition of Dharma. So the idea of those conversations is really to, instead of trying to be too brainy about it, to tell life stories. And so I try to reach out to people who, what I like to call, live their Dharma, so are really stepping into the full expression of their being. And the idea is for one, to show that it can take many different shapes and forms, and two, to remind everyone that it's really available to each and every one of us, and that's not reserved to a certain elite or what have you, and you could totally be living your Dharma without people knowing you, without being in the public light. So, right, because sometimes you could say, oh, okay, yes, if you live your Dharma, you have to write books and help save children and whatever, but you can totally be mother, taking care of your children, and living your Dharma.
A farmer or a cobbler or anything. I mean, it's amazing that we live in such a celebrity culture that the measure of your authenticity is, are you an influencer or not? That's just absurd. but it's important to remind us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, if that's okay with you, Laura, the idea is to use your life story as a background for our conversation and a backdrop to illustrate my understanding, at least, of Dharma. I know Dharma has many different translations and definitions in Sanskrit, and so it'll be really interesting to have your perspective with your very well-versed Ayurvedic hat. So yeah, a mix of your knowledge on Ayurveda, and if you care to share a little bit of your life experiences that could come and explain and give substance to the message I'm trying to carry here.
All right.
So without further ado, could you, for whomever might not know you, introduce yourself? I love that question because it usually goes straight to what we do, but really feel free to just describe yourself just however you want. You're a little blurry on my end. I don't know if
it seems dark.
Connection, but it could totally be my connection because I'm in the middle of the countryside.
Oh, are you?
And
nice.
Sometimes
where are you right now?
I'm in France, in the countryside.
Oh,
in the Alps, not in the mountain,
so nice.
like
in the lower Alps,
close to
And I'm in San Diego, so it's amazing that we're able to connect like this. Can you hear me? Somebody said there's a problem with the audio. Okay.
I can hear you fine. The image is just a little blurry, but if people on the other side might want to confirm that they can hear
the camera, but I don't know why it's doing that.
No, I think it's about the connection, but it could totally be on my end.
So do you want me to tell you a little bit about me and my Dharma? There we go.
Connection, and see if that's better. Yeah, I'm trying something with the connection. Let's see if that's better. Okay. Yeah, so just tell us, Laura, who are you?
Well, yeah, I mean, who am I? I'm just another human being living on this planet, doing the best we can to make it worthwhile. I mean, gosh, such a big question, but if you ask it like that, I would say I'm just somebody who's here seeking to unfold my best heart, in a way, like living from the heart and seeking to, in every moment, live those values, which is not always easy. Sometimes you're tired, you didn't get enough sleep, somebody steps on your foot, and you're like, ooh. So, yeah, but I think that like the purpose of my life is, I feel like the purpose of my life is to fulfill the promise of being my father's eldest child. And my father was a really, really special man, and I hope I can live up to that, to be as generous and good as he would want me to be. But in terms of what I do with my life, I've been a devoted student of the Vedic wisdom for pretty much all of my adult life. I've been practicing yoga, meditation, mantra, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, postural yoga, and Ayurveda and Jyotish. And mostly what I do in terms of interacting with the world is Ayurveda and Jyotish. In terms of my own private practice, it's mostly deep devotion to Divine Mother, who is Mata Bhumi, the embodied consciousness. We refer to as Mother Earth or Mother Nature, but is really the life power and creative power in everything that we can see, feel, taste, touch, etc. So it's really about a way of living in the world, always aware that there's some spark of consciousness in everything. And that everything, every moment, every interaction is an opportunity for our own awakening. It's more than just awakening, because that's in a way a selfish thing. It's about, what are we giving? What are we giving? How will we be remembered? Are we a force of good? Is there some service that we can offer to the world? And I truly believe that's our Dharma. And there's a beautiful saying, I just posted it on my feed. Dharma, we say the word Dharma, and then Dharma, Rakshati, Rakshitaha. And it's part of a longer saying that comes from Mahabharata, which is that Dharma protects those who protect Dharma. If you live a dharmic life, Dharma will take care of you. So you can let it go. You know, the Bhagavad Gita, which comes from Mahabharata, Krishna reminds us, you know, live a life of service and then with non-attachment. You'll be taken care of. This idea of Dharma, Rakshati, Rakshitaha. But it also says Dharma destroys those who destroy Dharma, and then it goes on to say Dharma cannot be destroyed. It is eternal. So, you know, Dharma is a really important concept. It's a big one. It, as you said, has lots and lots of meanings. But I think one of the most important meanings, it is about what is your swadharma, what is the Dharma, what is your essence of self. But more than that, how do we live in harmony with natural law, with cosmic law, with, as you said, the circles and cycles of life itself. Because when we're living in harmony with the circles and cycles of life itself, when we're living in harmony with the rhythm, the ritam, it gives an amrit. I mean, it's actually there in the early Vedas. When you live according to the ritam, this root of the word ritam, ri, is the underlying vibration of existence itself. When you are harmonized with that vibration, the underlying vibration of, let's get rid of the word law. That sounds so formal. It sounds like it's, you know, going to be meting out justice and punishment. What if it's just living in rhythm? Yeah.
Laura, I'm really sorry, but it's true that the connection is getting a little worse, I think, and it's a little hard for me to hear you now. So I don't
where I can get closer to that.
And, yeah, it will be.
Nope.
I mean, it's so deep what you share. I really want to make sure we don't miss it.
Is it a little better out here? Let's see what's happening.
A little bit, but the sound is still a little crackling.
I don't know what to do about that. I'm going to go out and come back. Okay? I'm going to go back.
Okay, okay. Sorry about that, guys. Laura will be right back, but it was just a shame not to hear her properly with all the knowledge and the wisdom she had to share with us. Thank you for being live. I have no idea how many of us are here because my phone is broken on the top right-hand corner, so I have no idea. But thank you for whomever is listening to us live and whomever will be listening to the replay. Let's wait for Laura and hopefully her connection will be better. Hello, hello, whomever is joining live. Laura will be back in a minute. Where are you all listening from? I would love to know. Are you mostly from the US? Some people from my side of the ocean in Europe? Let me know. Okay. Or not. I'm gonna have to just cut that part on the replay. Anyways, I hope she'll be able to find a good connection because I think she's a well of wisdom when it comes to Ayurveda and the different meanings of Dharma, maybe even a little different from the way I understand it. So it'll be really interesting. Does anybody knew what Dharma was before you got on this live? Nobody wants to talk. All right, Laura. Salut, Oriane. Je fais un live en anglais. Je te parle parce qu'il n'y a personne qui me répond. J'attends mon invité qui a des problèmes de connexion. It's a live in English, though, tonight. With a beautiful teacher called Laura Plumb. Hey, thank you for getting back to me, NYC. I used to live in New York way back when, almost 10 years ago, and I lived there for almost 10 years. I love New York. New Yorker at heart, even though technically, officially from France, definitely citizen of the world. All right, Laura's back. Let's hope for the best.
All
All
right.
right.
Any better?
Okay. The image is
Okay.
definitely better.
Good.
Let me hear you. See,
You can hear me? Test, test, test,
yeah.
test. Jai Shri
Yeah.
Ram, Jai Hanuman. Hanuman, 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 Hanuman Jayanti is Wednesday. Yeah. So speaking of Dharma.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I'm so sorry I had to cut you off, but it was such a shame not to be able to hear
No
you
worries.
properly.
Absolutely no
so
worries. Sorry about
start wherever you left it.
Well, no, I was just talking about how there's a beautiful saying that comes from the Mahabharata, which is that Dharma rakshati rakshitaha, that Dharma protects those who protect Dharma. And so earlier you were talking about something that reminds me of a wheel. Our word in English, wheel, gives us the word wealth as well as wellness. And so when we live inside this wheel, you could say, what is our earth? What is our sky? It's all sort of a wheel, really. Time doesn't go linear. Time goes around. Every birthday is just you going around another year around the sun. Everything's circular. Everything is circular in that sense. So you talked about cycles and circles. When we live inside the cycles of nature, the rhythms of nature, we get ease and flow, and we are taken care of. So it's just a really beautiful thing, but it's also beautiful to recognize that that saying goes on. It says, Dharma protects those who protect Dharma, but Dharma destroys those who destroy Dharma, which to me is like, let it go. Somebody's doing something that you don't like it, Dharma will take care of that. We don't have to take care of that. We can just mind ourselves, mind our rhythms, mind our flow. So it's beautiful because in the ancient wisdom of the Vedic Himalayan sages, they had this term, ritam, and then amrit. And so it said that when you live in the ritam, you get the amrit. What is that? R-I, the root of this word ritam, is the underlying vibration of existence itself, right? So we know that vibration is the underlying structure of all existence. And that vibration is termed as ri. And that R-I is in the word karma, it's in the word dharma, right? So karma is when you're living a life engaged in nature. And are you living according to and creating harmony, or are you not? This is karma, that's all karma is. And dharma is to say, yes, I'm living in flow with it. And that flow gives dharma. So dharma is a couple things. There's swadharma, your essence, but there's sanatana dharma. There's a dharma that is greater even than that. Once you know your essence, you truly have to know your essence. But then it's like knowing your essence is like hearing the song of your body, mind, and soul all integrated, making one song, one harmony. And then integrating that song, you could say, with the one song, which is what we call the universe a one song. Universe means one song. Harmonize your life with the universe. Harmonize your life with nature. Not just nature that is outside your door, that is the forest you go to on the weekends for a walk, but all nature, and you too are nature. So harmonizing ourselves, even with the moon and the moon phases, the sun, right, that comes up in the morning. So all of Ayurveda and Jyotish is reminding us to live in harmony. That's what brings the greatest ease. Ritam, the rhythm, the word ritam gives us ritmo. You can see it right there in Italian. Rhythm comes from that word ritam. And then to live in the ritam, take amrit at the back end of that word and put it at the front end, and now you've got amrit. And that's the nectar of knowing that you are something greater than your small individual self, that you belong to this world, that you are one with all that is. And that gives a sense of not just well-being and belonging, but a sense of true love. Like in the heart you feel, I belong to this world. You are loved, you matter, right? That's what it is to have that amrit, that nectar of immortality. Is this body going to live forever? No. But the mind taps into something that is immortal, truly great. And it's just, spine tingling, really. It's really an exciting way to live your life. Yeah. It's calm. It's so calming, but it's inspiring. Yeah. It's grounding, but it's uplifting, right? It's centering, but it's expanding. It's at once all, and then you get to choose which way is this river going to flow. But the river doesn't, the river has to go where earth, the landscape allows it, right? The river knows where it wants to go. It's got a full, clear intention. But then it's got to deal with the lens. So everything's this relationship, right? We're in a dance. But I can't go that way. There's too many rocks, right? Here, the earth, the ground is softer here. Let me follow the soft. Let me follow the ease, right? Let me go where I'm allowed. But you're going to make it to the river. You just may have some turns and twists along the way, right? And so remembering that everything is a relationship. That's what I love about Ayurveda and Jyotish. Everything is a relationship from the minute you take your first breath. Where'd that breath come from? The trees, right? So we're breathing in a relationship with the trees. We're always in a relationship with nature. And to remember that relationship and to make it a sacred, sumptuous relationship is to cultivate a truly sacred and sumptuous life.
So beautiful. You said like it's calming, and just listening to you explaining in your own word, it's I can really sense it. I'm like, yes, this is exactly how I feel, but I never actually worded out this way, and it's so beautiful. The dance is a word I use often. I feel like we always dancing with life, but I love how you use nature, because yes, we are part of nature, and we are nature, and even when we don't see it, there's an interaction all the time. And I love the idea of, yeah, just like movement. To me, life is movement, and being in Dharma is following the movement, is following the impulse, and following what, like picks your attention or your curiosity. I posted this quote today that said that, and I was very much part of those people who were like looking for their life's purpose for like so many years, and I was putting my so much pressure on my own shoulders. And yeah, that quote, I don't remember exactly, I think it was in French, but it said something like, you don't have to look for your purpose, just follow what piques your curiosity. And that's something that I think can really apply to Dharma. Just follow the river, follow the flow, the ease, even though it doesn't mean there won't be rocks, like he said, in the river. But and we can get to that in a minute, because I think it's really interesting to also change our perspective on what we call rocks now, but we can call like life challenges or obstacles or trauma, and they can also be part of that journey, that flow, that river.
Absolutely. Well, there's a beautiful quote from Paramahansa Yogananda, who says, your challenges, which I think, I don't know if he said it in English or if he said it in Hindi, but I feel like maybe what he meant here was your karma. Your karmas do not come, your challenges do not come to punish you. They come to awaken you. So rocks in the river, rocks in the road, rocks in the way may be your greatest opportunity, right, to awaken. And even if you feel you're already an awakened being, there's more. As long as you're alive, there's more. Grounded.
Never ending journey.
Yeah.
Yes. So to come back to you a little bit, I love to ask my guests to introduce themselves, and so I usually come with who they are and what they do. And so we shared already. Actually, I don't know if maybe you can explain, because when I wrote my little intro on the Instagram post, like, you have so many hats. Maybe you want to touch on that. And then why I'm asking you to do so is because, like you said, you mentioned the word essence, and essence and Dharma are so intertwined together. And my next question is always, once you explain what you do, but why do you do what you do? What lights you up? What's the essence and the energetic imprint behind you doing what you do?
Yeah, I was thinking as you were talking about people finding their Dharma or finding their purpose, and it's true. We go out there looking for, like, we're looking, like the way the words you use. Like, I was looking. Well, it's right here all along. We're going exactly in the opposite direction. And it's sad to see that, or to think that somebody might have a whole life lived outside of themselves, outside of their true self, outside of their true nature. Because I do truly feel, and I truly feel that this is one of the essential pieces of Vedic wisdom is that invitation back to you, right? That truly, if you live, not even if you live, but you are invited to life, right? Your life is an invitation to live your own singular, right, unique purpose. And you're welcome to that. You're invited to that. You know, what the world most needs is your authentic being. It's like if you said to, in the early spring in the Northern Hemisphere, right, it's April, those beautiful crocuses pop up and they push through that hard winter crust. Ha! Delicate flowers with that might and power to push through the hard winter crust. But what if we said, no, I want you to be a rose? Then we would miss those beautiful yellow crocuses coming through the snow in April, right? No, a rose is a rose and a crocus is a crocus. Why would we ask it to be something different? The beauty of this world is its color, its vibrancy, its different shapes, textures, and aromas. The French are so good at the aromas, the tastes of things. If everything tasted the same, it would be boring, even the best taste, right? Even the sweetest honey, as Shakespeare wrote in Romeo and Juliet, is loathsome in its deliciousness. Too much of one thing becomes loathsome even in its bland, in its repetition. So be your own self, because that's what our world most needs. And I feel that that really is the invitation of Vedic wisdom. Spend time, close your eyes, sit in the silence of your own being, and let yourself hear what your heart wants to tell you. Let yourself hear the song of your cells and your organs and your tissues, and see what happens when they start to harmonize mind, body, spirit. We're not different bodies, right? We're one body. We're one thing. We're an Atma, right? Atma is a word that scientists use when they discovered the thing smaller even than a molecule. And they said, this is the final thing. This is the indivisible substance of life. And they called it an atom. An atom is the word A-T-O-M. Also atom, A-D-A-M, is that indivisible, invisible essence of you. And that's the immortal part of you. That's the never dying part of you. That's the part of you that you were talking to when you were 5 and still having a conversation with, right? That you feel hasn't changed, hasn't aged. Life can change us. Hopefully life is helping us grow and become better people. But there is something inside all of us, I think, that we all know, that is the non-changing something. Witnessing life, witnessing experiences. Tap into that, listen to that, and let it speak to you in terms of what it's looking for. And let it be a process. Let it be like a river. It doesn't have to all happen at once. But again, the journey of 1,000 steps or 1,000 miles begins with the first step. And that's what it is, the unfolding of Dharma. It's really a deep listening and a deep allowing. And it requires some patience. It requires courage, right? E.E. Cummings said that the most courageous act of your life is the act of being authentically you. But it's there for you, and it's what life wants from you. It's not just what you want, like your heart of hearts wants. It's what the whole world wants, right? I feel like the whole world, all of nature, rises up in celebration of another person waking up to the truth of who they are. You know, that's, and when you ask, like, I wear many hats. Well, it comes from one, right? If life is a circle, if life is a wheel, right? We have all these aspects of our life. Think of it as not just all these different, crazy different things we got to chase it all after. No, it's a wheel. It's a circle. And your heart, your essence, your swadharma is the hub of that wheel. And then everything is just a spoke from the wheel. Everything is just round and round we go, feeding and nourishing that. And it goes out, it comes back in. It goes out, it comes back in. But it's all anchored. It's all centered here at the heart. And when you're living your life from here, your work, your relationships, your cleaning up the house, doing your errands, you know, there's truly an ease and integration. And you are potentially more creative and more productive because it nourishes you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes, yes. You're jumping ahead of me, but I love to end those conversations talking about flow and ease and even synchronicities, and because to me they're definitely part of Dharma, and they really start being more and more prevalent in your life when you start paying attention and be in relationship with life instead of fighting it, really. And so, and same being in relationship with ourselves to begin with. I love that you use also the word courage, because sometimes it also mean going against the crowd, I was gonna say, but sometimes it means like taking a route that differs from other people, and because you've been using Sanskrit to explain where certain of our words come from. In French, the word heart is cœur, and cœur is actually where the word courage comes from. So I just want to point that out, because I think it's beautiful to remember that our courage comes from the heart, and when we dare to listen to what comes from the heart, it gives us so much power, and there's like an infinite source of energy when we start tapping into that.
Yeah, it's a great reminder that, you know, again, as Ecom said, something like the greatest act of courage is the courage to be who you truly are, and that feels like it comes from the heart, right? And that's beautiful. Yeah, that's something that's translated a lot into English, the âge de cœur sort of idea. Like that as we grow, right, we grow with the courage, hopefully, of the heart. But yes, I mean, most of it takes a lot of courage, because most of our cultures and societies are set up to get people to serve. I don't want to be negative, but you know, there's a setup here, and we call it human resources or earth resources. We're used as a resource. Yeah, we have to break out of that. We have to break free from that. And I think that if we can, then the whole world would be better. The whole world would be healthier, and I think we would be more productive. Yeah, but yeah, we still have to break out of it. A leftover from the Industrial Revolution of using humans as resources, right? That's something that we have to, that's the greatest courage, I think, is to really break free of that, because it's really deeply embedded. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that's why I think something I say in almost every single interview is that living our Dharma is so simple. If you sum it up to, you just have to be yourself, fully yourself. So it's so simple, yet so difficult, because the world we live in does not allow us to do so that easily. And thus the need for courage to dare to follow that path that's calling our name, even though that means stepping out sometime of the system, of the matrix, however you want to call it, and being pointed fingers at, and but it's so freely at the same time, freeing at the same time, that you grow when you become stronger, and you shape more trust and faith in yourself and in life, and then again you create that nourishing cycle that's going to help you take that step and that next step and that next step. I can hear you no more, Laura. I can't hear you. I can hear you.
Sorry, I had to come down to the kitchen area, so not an ideal space for me, but it's the only place where I could get the connection. So yeah, I think the other thing that it takes is not just courage, but also creativity, because the other thing is we live in a world where we have to pay our bills, right? We don't still live in nature where we were once nomadic and we would just live wherever the next cave was. So we do have to find, to be creative about that, and hopefully we can find a way to be both creative, nourished, and in service. I think those three things really are what create the most fulfilling life.
Yes, and thank you for bringing service to the table, because I think it's definitely a component of what Dharma is. And once you allow yourself to be, again, that full expression of yourself, well, once you have all the energy and once you feel good about yourself, well, I feel like the natural next thing to do is to want to contribute and help others to feel that way, or contribute in, again, many different shapes and form, but service is definitely what comes next once you get to that part of self-fulfillment.
Yeah, and you know, there's a beautiful story that one great meditation teacher tells about staying with some friends, and he got put in the room with the twins and the 2-year-old twins. One would wake up early in the morning just before the sun comes up, and then he would start to try to wake up his brother twin, right? And so this meditation teacher is already awake doing his meditation, and he's watching the one twin wake up, seeking to wake the other. And he had this great line. He said, it's beautiful because it's a reminder that once awakened, we seek company. And I think, you know, any of us who are changing our lives, whether it's somebody who goes into recovery, addiction recovery, you know, one of the things you have to do is you have to break free of the tribe that you were enjoying those things with. And now you've got to find a new tribe. Paramahansa Yogananda also would say that the greatest force acting upon you are the people you spend your time with, right? Your kula. But the truth is, you know, at first when you're trying to break free of the outer pressures and come into your own impulse, your own values, then at first it will feel a little bit lonely and even sad. There's grief and loss, sure. But just remembering that you will now, in the new you, the more true you will find people who resonate with that true you. And that's a much more beautiful relationship to share and enjoy with others. So, you know, just knowing that, again, it takes that patience, knowing it's coming, knowing that better life. There's a beautiful story in the Devi Mahatmya. First, it takes courage. That's Durga coming onto the battlefield. Then she becomes Kali, slaying all the demons. And that's really that effort it takes to create this new life, so to speak. But then comes Lakshmi, and Lakshmi is the sweetness. Then comes the peace, the calm, the sweetness, the friendships. But don't stop there, keep going, because next is Saraswati, who is the true sitting in the quietude of our own internal awareness. That's what ultimately slays the source of those evil ones. And we want to go all the way back to the source. It's a beautiful, beautiful story of our own spiritual journey. So sweetness comes, but that sweetness is just coming not to say you're finished, but to encourage you to keep going into the ultimate knowledge of your highest and truest self. That's where freedom lies.
So beautiful. Yes, thank you for sharing that story. It's so beautiful.
The stories are very beautiful. The stories are all stories of our own journey. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. So actually going back to your story, I'd love to know, how did you get into Ayurveda and Jyotish and yoga, and how did you get to bathe into all this Indian philosophy?
Well, you know, it's interesting how life unfolds. You can look back and say, well, these were the threads, you know, that finally wove together to create the fabric of your current state of being. But I think when we met and talked about this. I lived for a long time in London, and I was the general manager of the Discovery Channel. I also worked in Paris, where I also helped to create some nonfiction or documentary kind of nature-based programming. And I spent a lot of time, I was also working in Spain and Italy, lived in Italy for a while. So I had this great experience of living abroad. I think it's beautiful to live in places that shake you loose a little bit from your idea of language, your idea of who you are, your idea of currency, right? Then you start to understand that there's another exchange. These things are just currencies. These are just ways that we've created in order to communicate and connect with each other, in order to trade and exchange. And then you get to something, well, what's behind all that? Even just going and living abroad can help you understand who you are when you're not surrounded by all these constructs that you grew up with, right? It's very liberating. Plus I worked for the Discovery Channel, and our focus was mostly nature documentaries. So looking back, I think I was always drawn to nature and to sharing the beauty, the bounty, the might, the majesty, and the infinite intelligence of nature itself. But I went to do a documentary on a man named Don Miguel Ruiz, and he's the man who wrote the Four Agreements. He's a Toltec master. He teaches you, he takes you to Mexico when he calls power journeys, but very much both going into nature, but also going into a more intuitive state. And really, he talks about stalking the mind, very much like his sister science to the Vedas. And there is some idea that maybe the people of India did travel along through Alaska and then down the west coast into Mexico. Anyway, while I was doing that, one of the women there, who was one of his teachers and mentors, kind of whispered in my ear. She said, "When are you going to put the camera down and fully step into this?" So it took me about a year or two to really sit with that. But eventually I did. I became a yoga teacher, meditation teacher, and with that was studying Ayurveda. I spent years, I'm probably still a student, 10, 15 years of studying Ayurveda. And all the while secretly studying Jyotish, because I thought if I became an astrologer, people would think I'm mad. But that just insisted on pouring through me. And so now mainly what I do is the Ayurveda and the Jyotish, which is Vedic astrology, which I do consider a larger, more subtle expression of Ayurveda, because it's all about really learning about the energies and how they're impacting us and how we can work with them, either harness them for greater power or find a way to work with them for greater balance and ease. So whether it's the environment you live in, the weather of this season, right? Or whether it's what's the moon doing today, and by the way, it's going to be full. And this full moon, which is a beautiful moon in Hasta Nakshatra, symbolized by the hand, which the idea here is that you've got the sun in your own two hands, and the fingers are the rays of light, and they're expressing the light of your heart. So again, it's that idea of what do we create from the heart? How do we reach out and touch people, right, with our heart, but through our hands, connecting heart to heart. So both creating and being in service to the world. And of course, this full moon is the birthday of Hanuman, who's the ultimate devotee. This very powerful week we've got here, so it's a beautiful time to be here with you and talking about Dharma. What is Hanuman's Dharma? His Dharma is to serve Ram. His Dharma is to celebrate Ram. Whatever Ram asks of him, he will be in service. Build a bridge to another country? Okay, we'll do it, right? Crossing the seas? Sure. Go back to the Himalayas to pick up the herb that might help save your brother who was wounded in battle? No problem, right? Go find Sita hidden somewhere in a garden? I'll find her. Hanuman just says yes. And it demonstrates the power of all of us, the power that all of us have when we say yes to the heart. Because who is Ram? Ram is the light of the heart. Say yes, and you will be surprised at the might and majesty of your own, capacities.
Yes, so beautiful. Thank you. Just like this, you said yes to that impulse to study Jyotish, even though you were afraid what people might think, and because there's always something when we listen to that, and when we say yes to that, really. It's one thing to listen, but you can hear it and not take action, but saying yes is actually you stepping in.
And I don't want to make it sound easy. It took a lot of time. There was a lot of time there that was unfolding, and there was a lot of do I, don't I, how do I, until finally life just said, we're not going to support you any longer. You have no choice. You have to go in this direction, right? Those were difficult years. Those were scary times. But you just feel like I have no choice. I have to go in this direction. It's the only thing I know at this point. And sometimes I feel like, you're at the edge of a cliff looking out and thinking, oh my gosh, I have no more roads but forward. And then, you're forced to take the leap and you find that you've got wings. And somehow it's going to work. I think we just have to keep following the path. And of course, if we need friends, if we need coaches like you, that's so helpful, because a coach or a friend can really help affirm, those inklings that we're getting, can really help affirm our possibilities, our talents, what's unfolding. A friend or a coach can see you and can sort of see your blind spots. Maybe some of what's in your blind spots is your greatest talent. And I have to say, with the Jyotish, it was the thing I was most longing to learn about, most afraid of letting people know about, because again, like, what are they going to think? I'm just to give you, a sense of, I was the oldest child in my family, and my father was a lawyer, and he wanted me to grow up and become a lawyer and go into practice with him. So there was a strong sense of something that what I was supposed to do. And why not? Maybe I would have ended up as a human rights lawyer. Maybe it would have been something really, again, purposeful. but I slowly started going in a different direction. And each time I had to say, Dad, I don't think so. And take that risk of breaking his heart. And, I really loved my dad. So it was hard, right? But now he's passed away, but a friend of his said to me not too long ago, I think your dad, if he were alive today, he might not fully understand what you do, but I think he'd be really proud of you. And it's interesting because the thing that I'm asked for mostly is the Jyotish. The things that people come to me for mostly, 9 out of 10 people are booking sessions for Jyotish, not the Ayurveda. So it's interesting that was the hardest one to really step into. And yet that's the one that seems to be of greatest service. Right? So that's another thing, everybody. If you'll just listen. If I could share anything, listen. The deepest longing in your heart is probably the most important one, and maybe the one that most fulfills you and most best serves others, because nature's like that. Nature's intelligent in that way. When you fully come alive, you then can help to serve so many others to fully come alive, right? And then the wheel echoes out and out and out, right? The vibration echoes out and out and out, right? You don't know how many lives you might change just by awakening to your own Dharma in your life.
Yes. And even though we talked about that system, culture, world we currently live in, I am very hopeful that there's big and bright light at the end of the tunnel, and that eventually we will all be living in Dharma, and it will just be a very harmonious, completely different world. I know for sure, because there's more and more of us like who can no longer do kind of like what you did. Eventually it was just like, nope, no more. You gotta do something else now, and listening to the pull. And I love that you shared that you feel like you have no more choice but to jump. And that's exactly what I did, because I used to work in marketing in New York, and eventually I quit and I left everything behind, and I went to India, and that's when I met you. And that trip completely changed my life, changed me, changed my relationship to myself and to others. And I'd love to share that little story, and then we can talk about synchronicities and stuff. So I stayed for 6 months in India, and very early in my trip, I was like, I saw an Vedic astrology consultation. I think that's when I was in Dharamsala for my yoga teacher training. And I was like, oh, I'd love to do that, but okay, no time. Later, I still have time. I'll. And then, time went by, and I moved around. I did many different things. And last few days, I spent the last few months in Bangalore. And last few days in Bangalore, I had made a friend, and I was like, oh, I really wanted to do that Ayurvedic astrology consultation before I go back. She's like, oh, well, one of my uncle or cousin is actually an astrologer. If you want, I can take you. And so just like that, like literally 2 days before I left, after spending 6 months in India, I ended up having that consultation. And I remember it was very eye-opening, and there was some really key dates that came up in my chart. And funny enough, they are my now husband date of birth.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. And I don't remember, I mean, I don't remember all the terms, but I know every year there's like a change of cycle, or every 3 years. And for me, it was this July 22nd, and my husband is born.
Wow.
Was born on,
nice. You have a Cancer husband. How sweet.
Yep.
Nice. That's beautiful. Wow. Isn't that incredible?
So anyway, that was my little story. But that's just, again, to introduce the concept of flow and ease and kriya, I think is the word in Sanskrit. And how when you start to step into that dance with life and nature, things start to happen in a very fluid way. And it doesn't mean it's always like this, and sometimes there's still obstacles, because there's still learnings to be you know, things you need to learn and grow. But yeah, so do you have any example of crazy synchronicity that happened to you, or anything?
I mean, at this point, it's all the time. You know, all the time. I think of somebody, I'm in my meditation and I think of somebody and we're having a kind of forgiveness experience, and then I find out they're passing. Like really, like as if their soul is coming to repair and free us both. All kinds of things, on and on. I couldn't even tell you. I do think that it does happen if you're in spiritual India a lot. It gets amplified for sure. I just, if you don't mind, like to just return to something you said. A lot of people in these difficult times are wondering, I think a lot of people are wondering, do I hang on to what I've got, the job I need, the income? Who knows? Everything feels so uncertain. Well, you know, in the Jyotish world, the great sort of sages of the Jyotish world have said that 2020 was a year when we reached the peak of a Dharma, right? So you're talking about Dharma, then there's a Dharma, which is the opposite of Dharma. We're so far removed from living in harmony with nature and with natural rhythm that, yeah, we've got a world of struggle and chaos and uncertainty. And I think that that's just an impulse, a push, an encouragement that we all need. We all need to get back to the garden. We need to get back to nature and natural living and nature's ways. And if not, then things get harder. If so, then we are part of what helps to restore balance and ease and that sacred, sumptuous living. But I think the important thing for all of us to know and to remember is that it's not up to someone else to do it. It's not up to our leaders, because they're so entrenched in those old ways. It's up to you and me and all of us. We have to awaken to our inner Dharma, the Swadharma, in order that we can participate in restoration of this Sanatana Dharma, the Dharma of all, you know. And it's, you know, it's an important call to action for all of us. Awaken, as Krishna says to Arjuna, awaken and stand in your truth, right? We've got to. I think that's why you're feeling so many people, you're noticing so many people being pushed, right? Pushed to the edge of what they're capable of in that old way of being, and now standing on the edge of which way do I go? Do I jump into my own Dharma, or do I cling to that old way, that safe way? I think a lot of people are being pushed to it because we have no choice anymore. We've got to wake up, right? And then who knows? Every sort of era, every sort of epoch throughout our, you know, biological history, there's been a sudden growth. Growth happens in these sudden leaps. Even in the children, you see our children, they sort of hit a sort of stasis, and then they have a sudden growth spurt. Human evolution too. We can have a sudden growth spurt. It'll come from all of us participating in those practices of awakening, of finding your true Dharma.
Yes, such a good reminder that this work is nothing, but it's not selfish at all. It's actually the opposite.
True. Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you. Wow, it's been almost an hour. I can't believe it. It went by so quickly. Oh my God, it was really good to hear everything coming in your own words and with all the knowledge you have on those ancient Vedic texts.
Yeah, beautiful.
What will be one last? Yeah, what would be one last piece of advice you
What's that?
share? What would be one last piece of advice you'd like to share with the people who are listening live?
It's the same, you know. Again, this is the week that we celebrate Hanuman, so I think, you know, he's born of the wind, he's born of Vayu and Anjani, right? And Anjani is our devotion, and come back to the heart, you know, and breathe, right? The winds within us. We harmonize the winds internally through our breath. Bring your mind to your heart. You don't have to devote yourself to Lord Ram, but find something that really matters, right? And place that in your heart. And with every single breath, think of that, right? Think maybe about why. Why should I have this life? Why should I have an authentic life? If you have children, that's a good reason, because they will watch and do what you do, right? Or maybe it's, in my case, I mentioned my father. I want him ultimately to feel that I have fulfilled the purpose, right? Fulfilled the Dharma, fulfilled the unfolding of the gift of life that he gave me, right? So find that thing that really matters. Focus on it. Breathe deep and full. Let it breathe into every cell of your body. Let it breathe that devotion into every part of your life. And you will find before you know it that you have the might and power of Hanuman, the courage and the creativity that you need to unfold a really beautiful life. And it's not selfish. It's what the world most needs. The world most needs people to come alive to their essence and their purpose, right? Because then we're just a tribe of people, a tribe of light and love, creating a better world for all.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Thanks to friends who have joined us. I can see some friends here. It's so sweet. Thank you, Science of Eternal Life. Jai Hanuman. There's I Am Rao. Hello. Can you recommend the Ayurvedic treatment center you mentioned in Trivandrum? I think the very best place to go, especially for mental things, is I would try Vidyagram, which is actually just across the border into Coimbatore, but it's close to Kerala. I mean, it's in Tamil Nadu, but you fly into Coimbatore if you're going there by plane. Okay, Vidyagram, Vidyagram, and you can find them here on Instagram. Yeah, just to answer a question here that came up.
Sure. Is that okay if people send you questions? I love to be really focused on my guests and on the conversation, so I don't really look at the comments. So I apologize for that.
Ben, I chant it as well every day. I like to do it when I'm on my trampoline or on the bike. Right? Shri Guru Charana Saro Jaraja. And I understand that he carried the Bhagavad Gita with him as well. Thank you. That's very lovely. Jai Shri Ram, Jai Ram. Thank you, guys. Thank you. It's nice to see you. Just thank you, guys. Are so sweet. Putting in the chants and like, whoa.
Where can people find you, Laura, if they want to have their own Jyotish consultation or Ayurvedic consultation?
So I'm on Instagram here at Laura Plumb, LauraPlumb. My website is Laura Plumb, LauraPlumb.com.
Easy.
Yeah, thank you. It's been so beautiful to be with you. I'm very proud of you for stepping fully into your authentic being and helping others do the same. Bravo. Good job. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a long way and it's still a journey of unfolding. But yeah, it's just having those conversations is so nourishing to me. So
once awakened, we seek company.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we have to have the conversation.
We lose some people along the way, and then we need to find again that tribe of hearts that speak the same language. That's definitely part of my journey.
Is built upon vibration. Then when we're together, like-minded, like-hearted, in these beautiful conversations, then we can feel the resonance, we can feel the vibration, and it feels like a hum throughout our being. And that's what we all need more of. True satsang, true just being together in dharmic conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
everybody who came live. That conversation, and I'll send the replay for whomever wants to listen to it later on, or listen to it again, because I will listen to it again. I want to
thank you to all of our teachers. I'm Shri Gurbhyano Maha, Jai Sita Ram. Everybody have a beautiful week. Thank you. Thank you, Doreen. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you, Laura. Bye.